President Jake Morrison walked into the great hall of the space station. His black shoes clicked on the metal floor as he moved toward the speaking platform. Around him sat creatures from across the galaxy. Some looked like giant lizards, others like living crystals that sparkled in the light. A few resembled walking trees with too many arms. This was his first big speech to the Galactic Council. Earth had joined this group of planets 3 years ago. Morrison wanted to make a good impression. He believed humans could work together with these alien species and build something better for everyone. Lisa Chen stood near the wall with 5 other security officers. She watched every movement in the room. Her hand stayed close to her weapon, but she tried to look relaxed. The alien said this meeting was safe, but Lisa never trusted anyone completely. That was her job. Morrison reached the speaking platform and looked out at the hundreds of alien faces staring back at him. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "Friends from across the stars," Morrison said, his voice carrying through the hall. "I come here today not as a conqueror or a beggar, but as a neighbor. Earth wants to be part of this galactic family. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and share what we know." In the front row, Ambassador Crixtal listened with cold yellow eyes. The Zephyrian delegate was old, even by his species standards. His green scales were marked with scars from ancient battles. He had seen many young species try to join the galactic community. Most failed. Some were destroyed. A few, like humans, were simply too dangerous to allow. Morrison continued his speech. "We know we are new here. We know we have much to learn, but we also bring something valuable: human creativity, human determination, human friendship. We ask only for a chance to prove ourselves worthy of your trust." Dr. Alex Warren sat in the back section reserved for Earth's delegation. As the chief scientist studying alien life, he had spent months preparing Morrison for this moment. But Alex felt worried. His research showed that many alien species saw humans as a threat. They thought humans grew too fast and changed too quickly. The problem was simple. Most alien races took thousands of years to develop new technology. Humans had gone from horse-drawn carts to space travel in just 200 years. They had mastered nuclear power, then fusion, then antimatter drives in the span of a single human lifetime. This speed scared the older species. Crixtal remembered when the Zephyrians first encountered a species like humans. The Caranthians had been aggressive builders and explorers. They had refused to follow galactic law and had tried to create their own empire. The galaxy had dealt with them permanently. Their planets were now empty rocks floating in space. Morrison talked about building hospitals together and sharing medicines. He spoke of joint exploration missions to unknown parts of the galaxy. He promised that Earth would respect the laws and customs of other worlds. But several alien leaders were not listening to his words. They were watching his confidence, his easy manner, the way he spoke without fear. Humans were supposed to be intimidated by the vast power of galactic civilization. Instead, this human leader acted like an equal. Captain Ryan Hayes, Morrison's personal bodyguard, stood near the platform. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth before taking this job. He knew how to read a room full of potential enemies. Right now, he did not like what he saw. Too many of the alien delegates looked angry or disgusted when Morrison spoke. The crystalline collective representative made a sound like breaking glass. In their language, this meant displeasure. The tree-like Verdanian ambassador's leaves turned a darker shade of green, which Ryan had learned was also a bad sign. Morrison finished his speech with a smile. "We hope to build a future where all species can prosper together. Earth extends its hand in friendship to every world represented here today." The applause was polite but not enthusiastic. Many aliens clapped slowly or not at all. Morrison walked down from the platform, still believing his speech had gone well. He shook hands and tentacles with various delegates, making small talk about trade agreements and cultural exchanges. But in the corners of the hall, certain alien leaders were already meeting in small groups. They spoke in quiet voices about the human problem and what needed to be done about it. Crixtal approached one such group. "Did you hear how he spoke?" the Zephyrian asked. "No fear, no proper respect. They think they belong here as equals." "The Caranthians spoke the same way," replied the crystalline delegate, its voice like wind chimes. "We all remember how that ended." "But humans are different," warned the Verdanian. "They have spread to 17 star systems already. Their military is stronger than the Caranthians ever were." "Stronger how?" Crixtal asked. "They have a few hundred ships and some basic energy weapons. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. What can they possibly do to us? The alien leaders agreed that something had to be done about Earth's growing influence. Humans were making other young species bold. Some were questioning why they needed to follow the old ways. This could not continue. Over the next few hours, plans began to form. Not an open war, which might unite other species behind humanity. Something quieter, something that would look like an accident but would remove Earth's leadership and show other worlds what happened to those who tried to change the galactic order. Morrison spent the rest of the day in meetings with individual alien leaders. He thought these talks were going well. Several species seemed interested in trade deals. Others wanted to exchange scientific knowledge. He began planning a formal dinner where he could build even stronger relationships. Lisa Chen watched these meetings with growing concern. Her security training told her that something was wrong. Too many aliens were being too friendly too quickly. In her experience, when former enemies suddenly wanted to be best friends, it usually meant they were planning something terrible. As the day ended, Morrison felt proud of what he had accomplished. He believed he had taken the first real step toward making humanity a respected member of galactic civilization. He had no idea that certain species had already decided that step would be his last. The stage was set for the events that would change the galaxy forever. Morrison's speech about friendship and cooperation had been heard by creatures who understood only power and submission. They would respond in the only way they knew how, not realizing they were about to awaken something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The dinner began like any other diplomatic meal. President Morrison sat at a round table with 12 alien ambassadors in the fancy dining room of Harmony Prime Station. The room had windows showing the stars outside and soft music playing in the background. Everything seemed peaceful and friendly. Morrison tried foods from different worlds and complimented the alien chefs. He laughed at jokes told by the Verdanian ambassador and listened carefully when the crystalline delegate explained their mining techniques. For 2 hours, everything went perfectly. Captain Ryan Hayes was not at the dinner. 20 minutes before the meal started, security alerts had gone off in another part of the station. 3 different alarm systems claimed there were intruders in the cargo bay. Ryan had to choose between staying with Morrison or checking the alerts. The alien security chief promised that the dining room was completely safe and had extra guards posted. Ryan made the wrong choice. He took half his team and went to investigate the alarms. They found nothing. The cargo bay was empty except for normal supplies. All 3 alarm systems had malfunctioned at exactly the same time. By the time Ryan realized this was impossible and rushed back to the dining room, it was too late. Morrison was drinking a glass of blue liquid that the Zephyrian ambassador had recommended. It was supposed to be a traditional friendship drink from Crixtal's homeworld. Morrison raised the glass and made a toast about cooperation between species. He took one sip, then another. The taste was sweet and reminded him of berries from Earth. The alien ambassadors watched him drink and smiled. Some of them seemed very interested in his reaction to the beverage. Within 3 minutes, Morrison began to feel sick. His hands started shaking and he felt dizzy. He tried to stand up but fell back into his chair. The room began spinning around him. "I do not feel well," Morrison said, his words coming out wrong. His tongue felt thick and his vision became blurry. The alien ambassadors immediately called for medical help. They seemed very concerned and worried. The Zephyrian ambassador looked especially upset and said he hoped Morrison was not having an allergic reaction to the drink. Dr. Velktor, the station's chief medical officer, arrived within minutes with a team of alien doctors. They scanned Morrison with their medical devices and gave him injections of various medicines. But Morrison kept getting worse. His body began shaking violently. Foam came from his mouth and his eyes rolled back. The alien doctors worked frantically, using every piece of medical equipment they had. They claimed they were doing everything possible to save the human leader. Ryan Hayes burst into the dining room just as Morrison's body went completely still. The alien doctors stepped back and Dr. Velktor announced that despite their best efforts, the human president was dead. "This is a terrible tragedy," Ambassador Crixtal said, his voice full of sadness. "The president must have been allergic to something in our traditional drink. We had no way of knowing this would happen." Ryan knelt beside Morrison's body, checking for any sign of life. But the man who had led humanity into the galactic community was gone. His face was peaceful, but Ryan could see tiny marks on his skin that looked like needle pricks. The alien medical team quickly removed Morrison's body for an autopsy. They said they needed to determine exactly what had caused the allergic reaction, so this tragedy would never happen again. Ryan wanted to stay with the body, but alien security officers told him that was against station regulations. General Kate Sullivan received the news while commanding Earth's main battleship at the edge of the solar system. The message came through official galactic communication channels and was very brief. President Morrison had died in an unfortunate accident. The alien doctors had done everything they could. An investigation was already underway, but Kate had been a soldier for 30 years. She knew the difference between bad luck and enemy action. Morrison had eaten alien food many times before without any problems. His medical record showed no serious allergies. The timing was too convenient, happening right after his first major speech to the Galactic Council. Dr. Alex Warren was on Earth when he got the news. As humanity's expert on alien biology, he was immediately suspicious. He had studied every known alien toxin and medicine. There was nothing in that Zephyrian drink that should have killed Morrison, unless something else had been added to it. Alex demanded tissue samples from Morrison's body so he could run his own tests. The alien medical team said this was unnecessary since they had already completed their examination. They claimed the samples had been destroyed during the autopsy process. But Ryan Hayes was smarter than the aliens thought. While they were busy removing Morrison's body, he had quietly collected some of the spilled drink from the table using a small device hidden in his sleeve. He also managed to get samples of Morrison's blood from the medical equipment before it was cleaned. When Alex analyzed these samples in his secret laboratory, he found exactly what he expected. Tiny robots smaller than bacteria had been mixed into the drink. These nanobots were designed to attack the human nervous system in a way that would look like natural biological failure. The nanobots were incredibly advanced, far beyond anything humans had seen before. They were programmed to dissolve completely after killing their target, leaving almost no evidence. Only Alex's specialized equipment could detect the few remaining traces. The murder weapon was perfect except for one thing. The aliens had made it too perfect. No natural allergic reaction worked this fast or this precisely. They had created a poison that was so effective it was obviously artificial to anyone who knew what to look for. Within hours of Morrison's death, the Galactic Council released an official statement. They expressed deep sadness about the tragic accident and offered their support to humanity during this difficult time. But they also announced new restrictions on human military activities and suggested that Earth needed guidance from more experienced species. The message was clear. Earth's leader was dead, and now it was time for humans to accept their proper place in the galactic order. They expected humanity to be scared and confused without Morrison's leadership. They thought humans would beg for protection and agree to any demands. Kate Sullivan read the Galactic Council's statement while standing on the bridge of her ship. Around her, human officers monitored communications from across their territory. Reports were coming in of alien fleets moving toward human colonies with excuses about maintaining stability and preventing panic. But the aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought killing Morrison would break humanity's spirit and make them easier to control. Instead, they had just given humanity a reason to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of when someone hurt their family. The word spread quickly through human space. The president was dead, murdered by aliens who thought humans were too weak to fight back. Now it was time to prove them wrong. Admiral Sam Parker stood in the emergency command center deep under the mountains of Colorado. The room was filled with screens showing star maps, fleet positions, and communication feeds from across human space. Every face in the room looked angry and determined. The news of Morrison's murder had reached every human colony within 6 hours. From the mining stations around Proxima Centauri to the farming worlds near Wolf 359, the reaction was the same. Humanity was done trying to make friends with creatures who killed their leaders and expected them to say thank you. Colonel Maria Santos spread intelligence reports across the main table. Her reconnaissance ships had been watching alien movements for weeks. Now the pattern was becoming clear. The Zephyrians have moved battle fleets into position around 7 of our colonies, Maria reported. They claim it is for our protection, but their weapons are pointed at our cities, not away from them. What about the other species? Sam asked. The Crystalline Collective has blockaded our trade routes. The Verdanians have closed their borders to human ships. Even species that seem friendly are now treating us like enemies. Dr. Elena Rodriguez entered the command center carrying a metal briefcase. As head of Earth's secret weapons research, she had been working on projects that no alien knew about. Morrison had wanted to keep these weapons hidden, hoping they would never be needed. That hope was now dead along with the president. "Show them," Sam ordered. Elena opened the briefcase and activated a holographic display. Three-dimensional images appeared in the air showing spacecraft designs unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. These ships had no energy shields, no plasma cannons, no exotic weapons that galactic civilization would recognize. Instead, they had something much simpler and much more deadly. Kinetic kill vehicles that could accelerate to 90% of light speed. Guidance systems controlled by artificial intelligence that could think faster than any alien mind. Nuclear warheads powerful enough to crack planets. The aliens think we fight like they do, Elena explained. They expect energy beam battles and shield wars. They have never faced an enemy that turns merchant ships into guided missiles or uses pure physics as a weapon. Sam studied the designs. Humans had been building these weapons in secret for 3 years. Ever since first contact with galactic civilization, Morrison had hoped diplomacy would work, but he was not stupid. He knew that species who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years might not want to share power with aggressive newcomers. Captain Ben Clark commanded the first ship to test these new weapons. His vessel looked like a normal human cargo freighter from the outside. Inside, it carried enough kinetic penetrators to destroy a small moon. Ben had volunteered for this mission, knowing he would probably not survive it. The target was a Zephyrian patrol fleet that had surrounded the human colony on Kepler 442b. 3 alien battleships were demanding that the colonists surrender their weapons and accept Zephyrian protection. The colony's 20,000 residents had sent a message to Earth. They would rather die fighting than live as slaves. Ben's ship approached the alien fleet, broadcasting standard merchant identification codes. The Zephyrians scanned his vessel and saw exactly what they expected, a cargo ship full of mining equipment and supplies. They ordered him to turn around and leave the system. Instead, Ben activated the hidden weapon systems. In less than 2 seconds, his ship fired 18 kinetic penetrators at the 3 Zephyrian battleships. Each projectile weighed only 10 kilograms, but it was moving fast enough to punch through any shield ever built. The aliens never had time to react. Their sensors detected the incoming projectiles just seconds before impact. Their weapon systems were designed for the slow, careful battles that galactic species usually fought. They could not target objects moving at relativistic speeds. All 3 Zephyrian ships exploded simultaneously. The kinetic energy release was so massive that it could be seen from the planet's surface as 3 new stars briefly blazing in the sky. Ben's ship was destroyed by the shockwaves from his own attack, but he had proven that human weapons could kill anything the aliens built. Word of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. The Zephyrians claimed it was a terrorist attack by human criminals, but other species began asking uncomfortable questions. How had humans destroyed 3 military vessels with a single cargo ship? What other weapons were they hiding? Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster led special operations teams on 12 different worlds. Her soldiers had been training in secret for exactly this kind of war. They knew how to fight in any environment, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts to the insides of space stations. The aliens had never faced human infantry before. Most galactic species preferred long-range battles with minimal casualties. They did not understand enemies who could march for days without rest, fight hand-to-hand with brutal efficiency, and coordinate attacks across vast distances using quantum communication networks. Amy's team struck simultaneously at Zephyrian outposts across 4 star systems. They used explosives that the aliens could not detect, moved through terrain that other species considered impossible, and demonstrated a level of violence that shocked civilized galactic society. The attack on the military base at Rigel 7 was typical. 20 human soldiers infiltrated a facility defended by 300 Zephyrian troops. Using stealth technology and knowledge of alien weaknesses, they destroyed the base's power systems, communication arrays, and weapon stockpiles before vanishing back into the wilderness. Commander Pete Adams coordinated these attacks from a secret facility hidden in the asteroid belt. His quantum communication network allowed instant coordination between human forces across dozens of light years. While alien fleets still used traditional faster-than-light messages that took hours or days to travel, human commanders could synchronize their actions to the second. The psychological effect was devastating. Alien military leaders found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Human attacks were perfectly timed to prevent mutual support between alien bases. Supply convoys disappeared without trace. Communications facilities exploded just before major alien operations were supposed to begin. Dr. Alex Warren's research into alien biology became crucially important. His teams had spent years studying the weaknesses of every species in galactic civilization. They knew which sound frequencies could disable Zephyrian nervous systems, what atmospheric compositions were toxic to crystalline collective forces, and how to create diseases that targeted specific alien immune systems. The galaxy had assumed that humans were typical mammals with standard biological weapons. They discovered instead that humans had turned xenobiology into a military science, sonic weapons that made Zephyrians helpless, viral agents that infected only specific alien species, and chemical compounds that could kill by touch. General Kate Sullivan watched the reports flowing in from across human space. In less than 1 week, human forces had destroyed 47 alien military installations, captured 6 enemy commanders, and demonstrated weapons that no galactic species had ever imagined. But this was just the beginning. The aliens had killed Earth's leader, expecting humanity to surrender. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping since humans first left their home world. The predator instincts that had made humanity the dominant species on Earth were now focused on targets across the galaxy. The message went out to every human colony, every military unit, every civilian who wanted to help. Morrison was dead, but his dream of human equality and galactic civilization would live on. The only difference was that equality would now be enforced at gunpoint. Captain Ben Clark watched his target through the viewing screen of the UES Retribution. 3 Zephyrian cruisers hung in space near the human mining colony of New Perth, their weapons trained on the settlements below. For 2 weeks, these ships had been demanding tribute from the colonists and threatening to bombard their cities if Earth sent any military support. The aliens thought they were safe. Their ships had shields that could stop any known energy weapon. Their armor could absorb direct hits from nuclear missiles. They had ruled space for thousands of years and had never met an enemy they could not defeat. Ben's ship looked like a modified cargo vessel. The Zephyrians had scanned it dozens of times and found nothing dangerous. What they could not detect were the 18 kinetic kill vehicles hidden in the cargo bay, each one accelerating at 900 times Earth's gravity. All weapons ready. "Captain," reported his weapons officer, Lisa Kane. She had volunteered for this mission knowing it was probably suicide. The Retribution would not survive the energy release from its own weapons. "Fire all kinetic penetrators," Ben ordered. The cargo bay doors opened, and 18 metal cylinders shot out into space. Each one was only 10 kilograms of dense metal, but they accelerated to 90% of light speed in less than 3 seconds. The Zephyrian sensors detected them just moments before impact. The alien ships tried to raise their shields and fire their point defense weapons, but nothing in the galaxy could stop objects moving that fast. The kinetic penetrators punched through shields like they were made of paper and struck the alien hulls with the force of atomic bombs. All 3 Zephyrian cruisers exploded simultaneously. The energy release was so massive that it destroyed Ben's ship as well, but he had proven that human weapons could kill anything the aliens built. The colonists on New Perth watched from their windows as 3 new stars blazed briefly in their sky. Word of the battle reached Admiral Sam Parker within hours. This was the signal he had been waiting for. Across human space, military commanders received the same message: weapons free. The war had officially begun. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster led her special operations team through the swamps of Rigel 7. 20 human soldiers moved silently through terrain that the Zephyrian defenders considered impassable. The aliens had built their military base on high ground surrounded by poisonous marshes, believing no enemy could approach without being detected. They had never fought humans before. Amy's soldiers had trained in every environment on Earth, from Arctic tundra to tropical jungles. They could survive in places that would kill most alien species in minutes. They could march for days without rest and fight at peak efficiency in conditions that would cripple other creatures. The Zephyrian base housed 300 troops and enough weapons to conquer a small planet. It had energy shields, automated defense systems, and sensors that could detect movement for kilometers in every direction. The aliens thought it was completely secure. Amy's team reached the outer perimeter without triggering a single alarm. They used explosives that the alien sensors could not detect, and moved with the coordinated precision that only humans seemed capable of achieving. In 30 minutes, they destroyed the base's power systems, communication arrays, and weapon stockpiles. The 300 Zephyrian defenders never saw their attackers. By the time the base's emergency lights came on, the human soldiers had vanished back into the swamps. The aliens sent search parties, but they found nothing except destroyed equipment and their own confusion. Commander Pete Adams coordinated similar attacks from his secret facility in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His quantum communication network allowed him to synchronize human operations across dozens of star systems. While alien commanders still relied on faster-than-light messages that took hours to travel, Pete could coordinate attacks down to the second. On the same day that Amy destroyed the base at Rigel 7, 16 other human teams struck Zephyrian facilities across 4 star systems. Every attack was perfectly timed to prevent the aliens from sending reinforcements to each other. Supply convoys disappeared. Communication centers exploded and weapons factories burst into flames. The psychological effect on alien forces was devastating. They found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Human attacks happened with impossible coordination across vast distances.
Alien commanders began to suspect that their own communications
were compromised, or that humans had developed technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Elena Rodriguez revealed more of humanity's secret weapons as the war expanded. Human ships began appearing throughout alien space, looking like harmless merchants or explorers. When alien patrols tried to board them for inspection, they discovered that the cargo holds were full of antimatter bombs or swarms of attack drones. The aliens had expected energy beam battles and shield wars. They found themselves facing enemies who turned physics itself into a weapon. Human missiles that accelerated until they became unstoppable. Human ships that exploded with the force of supernovas. Human drones that could think faster than any alien mind and adapt to any defense. Captain Susan Wright commanded a squadron of ships that looked like scientific research vessels. When a crystalline collective fleet tried to capture them for interrogation, Susan's ships released clouds of nanobots specifically designed to dissolve crystalline structures. The alien vessels crumbled into dust within minutes, their crews dying as their own bodies fell apart. The galaxy had never seen biological warfare like what humans could create. Dr. Alex Warren's research teams had spent years studying alien weaknesses. They knew exactly which viruses would kill Zephyrians without affecting other species, which chemicals would poison Verdanian nervous systems, and which sound frequencies would shatter. Crystalline Minds. Major Dan Cooper led the assault on the Zephyrian stronghold at Wolf 359. His battalion of human marines faced 10,000 alien defenders, protected by energy shields and automated weapons. The aliens expected a conventional assault that they could easily repel. Instead, Dan's forces used sonic weapons tuned to the specific frequency of Zephyrian brainwaves. The alien defenders collapsed helplessly as their nervous systems shut down. Human soldiers walked through their lines wearing ear protection while their enemies writhed on the ground in agony. The fortress fell in less than 4 hours. Dan's battalion suffered 12 casualties while killing or capturing every enemy defender. The aliens had never imagined that someone could turn sound itself into a weapon of mass destruction. As reports poured in from across the war zone, alien leaders began to realize what they were facing. This was not just another young species that could be intimidated into submission. Humans had been preparing for this war since their first contact with galactic civilization. Every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, every scientific collaboration had been an opportunity to study alien weaknesses. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions to discuss the human threat. But their communications were being intercepted by human intelligence networks. Their military codes had been broken months ago. Their supply lines were being systematically destroyed by enemies who seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Ambassador Crix Tal, the Zephyrian who had orchestrated Morrison's assassination, found himself commanding the defense of his home system as human fleets approached. He had expected this war to last days and end with human surrender. Instead, his own species was retreating on every front, while humans demonstrated weapons that made galactic civilization look primitive. In just 2 months of fighting, human forces had captured or destroyed over 200 alien military installations. They had demonstrated the ability to strike anywhere in the galaxy with perfect coordination. Most terrifying of all, they had shown that they understood alien biology well enough to create weapons that could kill specific species without harming others. The galaxy had killed Earth's leader expecting humanity to submit. Instead, they had awakened predators who had been pretending to be diplomats. The universe was about to learn why humans had become the dominant species on a world full of creatures with claws, fangs, and venom. The real war was just beginning. Fleet Admiral Nicole Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance as her fleet approached the Galactic Council's capital system. Behind her, 300 human warships moved in perfect formation through space. These were not the cargo ships and research vessels that had fooled alien sensors for so long. These were purpose-built weapons of war, designed to end galactic civilization as it had existed for thousands of years. 6 months had passed since President Morrison's assassination. In that time, human forces had captured 37 star systems, destroyed the military power of 4 alien species, and demonstrated weapons that the galaxy had thought impossible. The Zephyrian Empire was in ruins. The Crystalline Collective had surrendered unconditionally. Even species that had not participated in Morrison's murder were begging for mercy. Ambassador Crixtal watched the approaching human fleet from the observation deck of Harmony Prime Station. The same room where Morrison had been murdered was now filled with alien leaders, desperately trying to negotiate their survival. The old conference table had been replaced with communication equipment, connecting them to every remaining government in galactic space. "Admiral Carter," Crixtal said as her image appeared on the main screen, "the Galactic Council is prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict." Nicole looked at the Zephyrian ambassador with cold eyes. She had read the intelligence reports about Morrison's death. She knew exactly who had planned the assassination and why. The time for discussion was over. "There will be no negotiation," Nicole said. "You killed our leader. You threatened our colonies. You tried to make humanity kneel. Now you will face the consequences." The terms that Nicole presented were simple and non-negotiable. Every species that had participated in Morrison's assassination would face complete military destruction. Their governments would be dismantled. Their military forces would be disbanded. Their populations would be relocated to supervised colonies under human administration. Species that had remained neutral would be allowed to continue existing, but under strict conditions. They would accept human oversight of their military forces. They would pay tribute to Earth. They would follow human law when dealing with other species. Most importantly, they would never again threaten humanity or any world under human protection. General Chris Miller, the military governor of captured Zephyrian space, appeared on another screen to give his report. The alien populations under human rule were adapting to their new reality faster than anyone had expected. Unlike the old galactic rulers who had governed through fear and species hierarchy, humans administered their conquered territories with practical efficiency. The Zephyrian colonies are actually more prosperous now than they were under their own government, Chris reported. "We have improved their infrastructure, introduced new technologies, and eliminated the corruption that was endemic in their old system. Some of them are actually volunteering to help us govern other captured worlds." This was the most shocking thing about human occupation. The aliens had expected brutality and oppression. Instead, they found administrators who cared more about results than politics. Human governors replaced incompetent alien officials with whoever could do the job best, regardless of species. They built better hospitals, schools, and transportation systems. They ended the ancient feuds between different alien races by treating everyone equally under human law. Dr. Alex Warren had established research stations throughout captured territory, studying alien biology and technology. But instead of using this knowledge only for weapons, he was also developing medical treatments that could help alien populations. Diseases that had plagued certain species for centuries were being cured by human doctors who understood alien physiology better than the aliens themselves. The irony was obvious to everyone, except the remaining alien leaders. Humanity had proven to be better at governing galactic civilization than the species who had created it. Under human rule, Trade increased, conflicts decreased, and technological advancement accelerated. The galaxy was becoming more prosperous and peaceful than it had been in thousands of years. Captain Lisa Kane commanded the human forces surrounding the Verdanian homeworld. The tree-like aliens had not participated in Morrison's assassination, but they had supported the economic blockade of human space. They now found themselves facing a choice: surrender and accept human administration, or fight a war they could not possibly win. The Verdanian leadership chose surrender. Within days, human administrators were working with local officials to improve agricultural production and establish new trade networks. The Verdanians discovered that humans had developed farming techniques that could increase their crop yields by 300%. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Species after species chose cooperation over destruction. They saw what happened to the Zephyrians and Crystalline Collective. They understood that resistance was futile. More importantly, they began to realize that human rule might actually improve their lives. The final session of the old Galactic Council took place aboard the renamed Morrison Station. Nicole Carter stood at the podium where President Morrison had once spoken of friendship and cooperation. The room was filled with the representatives of hundreds of species, but the atmosphere was completely different. Gone was the arrogant superiority that had characterized galactic civilization for millennia. The alien delegates sat quietly, waiting to hear their fate from the species they had once considered primitive barbarians. Many of them looked relieved rather than frightened. The old system had been corrupt and inefficient. Human rule offered something better. President Morrison came here seeking friendship, Nicole said. He believed that different species could work together as equals. You responded by murdering him and threatening our people. You have taught us that the galaxy respects only strength and understands only force. She gestured to the star map showing human-controlled territory. What had once been a small cluster of systems around Earth now covered nearly half the galaxy. Human fleets patrolled trade routes that had been plagued by pirates for centuries. Human administrators governed worlds that had been neglected by their previous rulers. Human scientists were solving problems that alien researchers had given up on decades ago. The new galactic order will be built on human principles, Nicole continued. Merit-based advancement rather than species hierarchy. Practical solutions rather than ancient traditions. Justice rather than political convenience. Any species that can accept these principles will find a place in our civilization. Those that cannot will be removed. The transformation was already visible. Former enemies were working alongside human administrators to rebuild damaged worlds. Alien scientists were collaborating with human researchers on projects that benefited everyone. Trade networks that had been dominated by a few powerful species were now open to any world that could contribute something. Valuable Commander Pete Adams reported that his communication networks now
connected every human-controlled system in real time.
This meant that the new galactic government could respond to problems instantly, rather than waiting weeks for messages to travel between star systems. Natural disasters, pirate attacks, and diplomatic crises could be addressed immediately by the nearest human forces. The efficiency was remarkable. Under the old system, it might take months for the Galactic Council to decide how to respond to a crisis. Under human administration, problems were often solved before they could escalate into serious threats. As the ceremony concluded, Nicole looked out at the alien delegates who would now serve as advisors in the new government. Some of them had opposed humanity from the beginning, others had tried to remain neutral. A few had even supported Morrison's diplomatic efforts. It no longer mattered. The galaxy had made its choice when it murdered Earth's leader. Now it would live with the consequences. Humanity had been tested and found not wanting. They had been provoked and responded with the controlled fury of a species that understood. Both war and peace, the stars that had once looked down on an Earth that begged for acceptance now shone on a galaxy that served human interests. Morrison's dream of cooperation between species had become reality, but on humanity's terms rather than as equals. The galaxy had killed Earth's leader expecting submission. Instead, they had unleashed the wrath of mankind and discovered that humans made better rulers than those they had replaced. The age of human dominance had begun, and it would last for as long as humans remembered why they had been forced to fight for their place among the stars.